on the first episode of Trackside for the 2022 F1 in Schools World Finals. The competitors and the organisers battle the heat. The track is filled with broken car pieces as breakages become more and more common, and Tom decides to chase Gary with a chair. Hello and welcome to the first episode of Trackside for the 2022 F1 in Schools World Finals. My name's Michael. I was a member of Infinitude and Precision Racing, and I'm joined today by Zhao. Zhao, do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yes, thank you, Michael. I'm João. I was a former member of Hydra, a collaboration team between Brazil and Mexico, and we were part of the 2019 World Finals.
And it's great to have you with us, Zhao. Zhao has been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes for us here at Off the Track. Very helpful. So what do we think of the competition so far?
Yeah, mainly today was a pretty busy day. Like, we have all the races, so everything raced one time. And the times are very close, especially in the upper table, like the top 40 teams are just decent between 1/10, and like the teams are doing very well. I see.
I think we're seeing some really, really good times considering the constraints placed on teams under the current regulations. We're seeing close to sub-second times. We're about two hundredths of a second away from breaking that second barrier. It's getting really, really close, and Eclipse has been leading the charge on that one. They took out first place today with some very successful racing. They did a 1.028 and followed closely by Greco Racing Team from Greece. And so we spoke earlier this week to Eclipse about what makes their car, well, what they feel would make their car the most effective, and how they went about designing their car. And so let's just have a listen to what they had to say.
So after our nationals competition, we were looking at areas we could improve upon our car, and we brought it right back to basics. So we first started testing this modular box car, which was the most simple version of an F1 in Schools car you could have, shaped like a box, and we could move the center of mass around in different locations of the car to kind of test where was best. So we were looking at kind of our launch and then the stability down the track as well. And it turned out that the center of mass was best further back on our car above our rear axle, but in line with the line of thrust of our canister to kind of get the most energy out of the canister and transfer that energy into forward momentum. So to implement this into our final design, we kind of looked at lots of different materials, and so we ended up looking at aluminium, and so our rear wing is actually made out of aluminium, and this helps bring our center of mass back and further upwards to its desired location.
Javier, did you just want to go over again the process you went through for printing the back wing?
Sure. So after a lot of material research, which is what Tom briefly mentioned, we found this company called Proto Labs, who are actually able to print our rear wing from a process called DMLS, which is direct metal laser sintering. And we found that this aluminium material, which could be used in this process, was the right density to bring that center of mass perfectly in line with that thrust vector and directly above the rear axle. And then from testing this physically after we received the part, we actually found that this worked very well. And as Tom mentioned, again, just to kind of clarify what we did do, which was all throughout our engineering journey, if you want to call it that, we've always kind of said that stability is more important in an F1 in Schools car over aerodynamics. But for the World Finals, we actually made an effort to kind of prove that quantitatively. And then that really helped at the end of our process evaluate our entire journey and why we did that. which was we think it was quite helpful.
So, Zhao, obviously, Eclipse, they've done a lot of testing, a lot of evaluation of their car and engineering there, but we're seeing at this competition that teams can do all that engineering and it can either be made irrelevant by a starting gate that isn't working properly, or by the stopping mechanism, which seems to have fondness for completely eviscerating cars' front and rear wings.
Sure.
What do we think of that?
Yeah, it's quite complicated. I wouldn't like to be in the situation most of the time, because you see your car going down the track with a similar time with the other one, and when you watch the gate, it show a DNF. So it must be a not a good feeling that you have. But hopefully, like, to the end of the day, the DNF start to get more rare, and I hope that for tomorrow, the things are better, right?
Yeah, I think the hot weather is giving everyone at the event a hard time. I know certainly
sure.
Tom was struggling with it today. Poor guy. Not used to the heat in England,
Yes.
they're not. So yeah, and that's what I think off the tracks analysis from the sources we have on the ground shows, is that the starting gates are overheating, and that's what's causing this to happen so frequently. When it comes to wings, though, I don't think we've seen that many teams heed the advice of the chair of judges from last year. Gary recommended that teams implement a magnet to mount their front wing. Well, why do you think we haven't seen much uptake on that?
Maybe because, like, teams can think that magnets can limited weight, and many teams like have been planning their cars for many years, and doesn't feel comfortable to change things like in the less part of the journey. So they try to go with the thing that they trust. And if you do a lot of testing with similar brake systems and your car doesn't break in the testing, I don't see why to change it. You trust what you have done, trust your testing.
Yeah, if you know that your car is going to be robust, then why change it exactly? And I think you've hit on a really good point there, that a lot of teams, some teams haven't had much time at all to prepare for this competition, and some teams have had quite a while. I know that Sonic Boom and Eclipse have both had a fair amount of time to prepare for the competition. I think that shows in the results that they're pulling, because Sonic Boom pulled a really quick time, 1.037, which puts them top 4. That's really good. Yeah, and I think all the engineering they've done, it really shines through. I suppose the breakages themselves is just, it's frustrating for the teams that are there, because even though the teams that are there in person can see their cars, they're not allowed to touch them. They're not allowed to repair their own cars. I mean, how would you feel if you had to stand there and watch the judges try to fix your car and not be able to do it yourself?
Yes, I remember in my World Finals, our car broke like massively in the first round.
Oh no!
But at least we can try to change it. Like, I spent like a half an hour talking to Gary Anderson after that to see how we can fix it. At the end, we could fix it, but it was like a giant operation. We stayed that late that day to trying to fix it, and I cannot see the teams like trying to fix it, just trusting the hands of Gary. Of course, he's very experienced with that, but the tension that you have there all the time that you are planning on this car and see it breaks and you cannot touch it.
It's your baby, It's it's your car. You don't want anyone else responsible for it. So, yeah, I think that's very frustrating for a lot of teams, and I suppose it'd be equally as frustrating, I suppose, if you're online, because you're so far away. Like, yeah.
Communication is even harder when you are far away.
Yeah, and I suppose we're seeing that at Off the Track, because none of us on the team that are working on the content daily are at the event. You know, we've got lots of people who are working at the event for us, and we wouldn't be able to do this without them. But it's all online and over the internet, and it's really difficult. And I think teams have really shown a good amount of resilience and really adapted well to the online setting. So Gary Anderson and Tom got up to some antics today at the competition. I think Tom Deacon has really stepped into the role of the host of F1 in Schools, and he's really gotten that role down pat now compared to the same time last year. You know, he was new, he was filling in the shoes of David Croft, who admittedly is a big man to follow in that kind of gig, you know. And so I think he's doing a really good job. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, of course. Like both me and you, we stayed like the 9 hours of the live stream together in Off the Track live stream on Twitch, and we at the end we were very tired, and I cannot imagine how Tom could handle to have energy at the end, to always being happy, to making jokes. At the end, we both me and you and Ben were very tired. Was very tired.
Oh yeah, I still am. I went and had like a 2-hour nap after that, and then I got up to record this. So I don't know how Tom does it. The man is a machine. You know, whether it's chasing Gary Anderson with a chair, which is a thing that happened, or you know. Oh, what else did he get up to?
Tasting Mexican food.
Oh my gosh, yeah, he got duped into eating spicy Mexican food, yeah.
And he was in a hot environment already.
Yeah. So. Oh, and he wouldn't let us forget it. He wouldn't let us forget it. Which, you know what? I think that's fair. I think that's fair on him. So, looking forward, what do you think we're going to see from the rest of the competition?
Yeah. I think like tomorrow times maybe be better. I cannot see, but like we could see that the times all the cars are getting better. So we hope to see more competitions, to see teams fighting for the tenths from the not the tenths like the minimal margin. So it's very cool to say this, and I'm hoping that the DNF issues stop. Like everyone can hopefully get the races done easily. Yes, this is what I'm hoping to see, so everyone can have a plain sailing day tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think the ideas that some of the ideas that knocked around was that the temperatures were a bit inconsistent in the event venue today, and that was what caused some of the variance. But if we actually look at the data, I think you'll agree, Zhao, that the data is pretty consistent and not that spread. I mean, we did have a bit of an outlier with, I believe it was SN, is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, correct.
Yeah, SN ran a 1.9, I think is the best time, was it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So other than that outlier, I think we're looking at a reasonably close data set, which would seem to indicate that there's not too many other factors at play other than the cars, the tracks, and the starting gates not finishing. So watch this space. And there's plenty of other things that I think we need to have a look at. So biomimicry, that's the idea that you look at aspects of nature and you translate them into whatever design you're looking at. In our case, it would be a car design. In the case of industry, it could be, you know, you put a certain type of coating on a device and that helps it stick better, you know, like gecko feet, gecko pads kind of thing. And so we've seen quite a few teams take on biomimicry. Istafix and Swordfish, both of those teams took on some form of biomimicry, and I think it shows not just good engineering but consistent marketing as well. What do you think, Shao?
Yes, I think like I know Swordfish from a long time ago, like because they compete here in Brazil, so they always had the brand and evolution, and they are always have an evolution throughout the years. So you can see that. So yeah, I think it's a good concept. That can work. You can see sometimes of the cars are getting good, but even if the times of the car isn't that great, you have a consistent marketing, as you said, in your logo, in your pit display, in your presentations, in your visual identity. So as a team as a whole is quite nice.
And I think that's a very important aspect of the competition. I think we've had a very big focus up until now on the cars, because we've been talking about racing. We've had the racing, and when it comes to the online competition, I think a element that's really suffered is the marketing side of the competition, because we don't get to see the pit displays, to see the portfolios, to talk one-to-one with these teams.
Sure.
And we don't really get to talk about, why they made the decisions in their portfolio, or why their uniforms look like that. It's and I as a graphics designer, as someone who is deeply involved in the enterprise side of things in Infinitude and Precision Racing, I find that a bit sad. I think the enterprise side is just as valuable as the engineering. And so to have teams that are coming up with a consistent and justifiable brand that's strong, based around, the swordfish, or the fastest fish in the ocean, I think it shows a really good depth of thought behind the brand, and I think it makes it really easy to create a consistent brand. I think that's something that people really need to consider, is that if you're doing your brand, you need to do it well, you need to do it consistently to score points. And that's something that we talk about in a few episodes of Off the Track. Consistency is key, which is episode 3, I believe, and also the portfolios episode with David Powell Freeman. Getting back to the competition, Gary Anderson again. At the end of the day, when things were wrapping up, I can't remember the name of the team, Zhao. The one that
was
got
Swordfish again.
Swordfish again. Back at it again. Yeah. So
it was Swordfish, and let me just pull them one. Swordfish and Quantum GC.
Yeah. So they had to race again, and Swordfish and I think Quantum, were Quantum given the same option as well?
Yes, they were, because what happened in that run was when the starting system completely failed, and it was right at the time of Pat Simon's talk, so they decided to cancel some of the races that didn't happen. So they have Pat Simon talk. The second race session happens, and right in the end, they call both teams again, and they give the option: or do you want to race all the 4 races again, or you can keep your times and just race the times that didn't count. So it was a little game by Gary Anderson.
Yeah, a bit of a gamble there by Gary Anderson, and you know what? It paid off for Swordfish, because they did improve their times. And I think they improved their placings by 1 place, correct?
Yes, I think it was a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh, okay, a bit more than 1. Well, that's And another interesting thing from today's competition, I think it'll be the last interesting thing from today's competition. Keep the podcast nice and short and sweet. Dragon Racing, they talked about the sustainability of their car, and we've seen quite a lot of sustainable stuff. And you know what? I think tomorrow we'll hear some more sustainability on the podcast. We've got some interviews with teams coming up about sustainability, some really interesting stuff. But Dragon Racing, they used car exhaust and resin to create I think it was their rear wing that they used it to create.
Yes.
And I think that's very interesting. I mean, what do you think, Zhao? Shows good innovation.
Yeah, since the beginning, since the opening ceremony, all the time we're talking about sustainability. Like, we have the talk about sustainability. Tom said about sustainability. Danforth said. So it's very great to see the teams also going the same path, or the same path of thinking of sustainability. So trying to innovate in in sustainability. Like normally you
Yeah.
see sustainability in the portfolios, you see in the pit display, but I personally have never seen in the car. So to see a team innovating in that spot is quite cool and can give some points to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a consistency thing again, you know. You're absolutely right. We see sustainability mentioned in everything usually but the car. The car is just, it's an engineering thing, you know. We don't need to worry about sustainability in the car, and I don't think that's right. You do. You do need to worry about the sustainability of the car. And I think that's probably one of the ways the competition went a bit wrong when it switched away from balsa wood, because balsa is, it's a renewable source, whereas foam blocks not so much. But look, we're here now, so there's not much we can do about that. And so I think we've had a very good first day.
Yes.
I'm very much looking forward to day 2 of the competition. If you would like to listen to the incoherent ramblings of Zhao, myself, and Ben, we will be doing another live stream alongside the F1 in Schools live stream as well. So feel free to join us on Twitch for the Off the Track live stream. Other than that, we'll see you tomorrow, Zhao.
See you tomorrow. I hope all the teams competing have a great night of sleep, because just one of 4 days have come. So stay calm. Everything can change yet. So good luck.
All right. Yes. Good luck to all the teams.